And this was the counsel that showed best in my sight. There lay by a sheepfold a great club of the Cyclops, a club of olive wood, yet green, which he had cut to carry with him when it should be seasoned. Now, when we saw it, we likened it in size to the mast of a black ship of 20 oars, and a wide merchant vessel that traverses the great gulf. So huge it was to view in bulk and length. I stood thereby, and cut off from it a portion as it were a fathom's length, and set it by my fellows, and bade them fine it down, and they made it even, while I stood by and sharpened it to a point. And straightway I took it, and hardened it in the bright fire. Then I laid it well away, and I hid it beneath the dung, which was scattered in great heaps in the depths of the cave. And I bade my company cast lots among them, which of them should risk the adventure with me, and turn it about in his eye, when sweet sleep came upon him. And the lot fell upon those four whom I myself would have been fain to choose, and I appointed myself to be the fifth among them. In the evening he came shepherding his flock of goodly fleece, and presently he drave his fat flocks into the cave each and all, nor left he any without in the deep courtyard, whether through some foreboding, or perchance that the gods so bade him do. Thereafter he lifted the huge stone door, and set it in the mouth of the cave, and striking down he milked the ewes and bleating goats, all orderly, and beneath each ewe he placed her young. Now, when he had done all of his work busily, again he seized yet another two and made ready his supper. Then I stood by the Cyclops and spake to him, holding in my hands an ivy bowl of the dark wine. Cyclops, take and drink wine after thy feast of man's meat, that thou mayest know what manner of drink this was that our ship held. And lo, I was bringing it thee as a drink offering, if haply thou mayest take pity and send me on my way home. But thy mad rage is past all sufferance. O heart of heart, how may another of the many men there be come ever to thee again, seeing that thy deeds have been lawless? Odysseus has a plan, and he is enacting it. Finally, we see the wine come into play. This is that moment, that kind of Hitchcockian moment, right? We know the bomb is under the table. I guess it's not a one-to-one, because normally both characters in that scene don't know the bomb is under the table, but we, the audience, know the bomb is under the table. Thus, dramatic irony and suspense is created. However, I was going to say it was kind of like the milk scene in Suspicion, where we aren't sure if there is poison in it as Cary Grant brings it upstairs. That's not exactly it either. I guess it's not Hitchcockian, even a little bit. I don't know why I was going there with it. But we know that this is divine wine. It's not just your average port, as I called it the other day. This is some heavy-duty wine stuff, so clearly he's using it to his advantage. To what advantage? We shall find out. But certainly we know that once the Cyclops falls asleep, Odysseus and his four men are going to do him a little eye poke. Poke him right in the eyeball. One thing I kind of like here is how Homer is giving us a little bit of detail to be able to wrap our head around the scale of this cave, that the club that Polyphemus has brought in, he compares to the mast of a 20-oared ship. I mean, that's pretty dang big. So the fact that it takes the entire crew to break off part of it, not even the whole thing, but part of it, and then fine it down, as he says, and sharpen it to a point, really just gives you the sense of enormity here. I mean, the Cyclops can pick up two men, one in each hand, and smash them into each other like they're, toy trucks in the hands of a toddler. But Homer leaves just enough to our imagination. He doesn't go on and on. He doesn't luxuriate in the juxtaposition between their size and the size of this cave, or the size of the Cyclops. He reserves it for these moments to really drive home the impact. Dare I have to mention again, man, this cave must stink dung everywhere. Oh God, I can't. I think I would rather have my brains scattered across the cave floor than have to spend any time inside this place. Oh, just sounds totally awful to me. I think not to end this episode in a kind of snooty, erudite place, but I couldn't help but think, as we looked at the Telemachus episodes, where he's going to, especially the kingdom of Menelaus, and seeing the juxtaposition between the kind of orderly worlds of Sparta and Pylos, and then contrasting that to what's happening in Ithaca with all of the wooers making a mockery of, his livelihood. I think that can also be extended a bit to the kingdom of the Phaeacians, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump to make me wonder about, like, the cave here. I mean, it's clearly a household for the Cyclops, and he's not just a monster. I question whether or not we're to take this to be a sort of primitive creature. He seems like maybe not sophisticated. He's got basic needs, but he's intelligent enough to know how to make cheese, to milk animals, to keep them alive and healthy and grow and develop workflows and processes, and like, he's not just your average creature. And he's eating here, he's sleeping here. This is seems like somewhat of a workshop, if not a kitchen, that he's living in. So how do we contrast that to Ithaca and Odysseus's sense of home? I mean, a lot of it is probably interpretive and speculative, but if we just talk it out for a second, like, the whole theme of this is we should be feeling, if not yearning, with Odysseus to return home. Now, we haven't seen the idyllic Ithaca that Odysseus wants to return home to, so I think we have to bank on our own sense of home, our own sense of nostalgia, in order to develop that link with Odysseus. But I don't think it's super unimportant to look at this cave and the kind of nature of it, especially with the violence that Odysseus is seeing, where that is contrasted with his own home. Like, to put it more simply, like, I think subconsciously we can take, or supposed to take, that how much further away from home can one get? There are ghosts of home here. This isn't a full household, but it's household enough to remind Odysseus that he's not where he wants to be. Imagine this was just a cave with a monster in it that dragged a club around and just bashed everything over the head and then, bit the heads off them and fell asleep. That's not exactly what's going on. The Cyclops has his own life going on. He brings things home and has, his own kind of order, but an order nonetheless. He doesn't have handmaids and a court. Well, I don't know. Maybe there is a court of Cyclopses. It sounds like a fantasy novel waiting to be written. But I think I've made my point. Like, the whole thing, I think, is meant to tap into our idea that how much further away from home can we possibly get, and add danger to that. Not only is this not home, but there's a threat that I will never be home again, and that I'm going to die in this perverted idea of a home. Anyway, I told you I'd get snooty. All right. That's all I got for today. Let's continue here tomorrow with a little bit more Book 9. Until then, okay, goodbye. Odyssey is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. The show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Odyssey, written by Homer. Theme song by Neuroflow. You can support this show and other shows like it by going to patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.